that situation, that's brutal. That is brutal. That's terrifying. This would not be all right, so I have something similar. It's not as serious as that.
God damn it. Fuck you.
I can't watch a movie or a television show where anybody is being held captive for any period of time. Arms, tied behind your back, chained to the post, whatever the thing is. You got them in the basement, feeding them bread sandwiches till they die. Whatever awful Criminal Minds thing is happening. I sit on my couch and think, what if that poor lady gets an itch? Right? Like, that's not that she's like strapped to the basement floor, not that she's never going to see the light of day ever again. The fact that she doesn't have use of her fingers and she might get an itch around her nose or something and she won't be able to do, like, that would make me nuts. Like, sitting there not being able to do something like that would make me absolutely crazy. Like, my hands tied behind my back and a bug crawling on me that I can't flick off. It would drive me nuts. I can't watch scenarios like that and not think about, I don't think about the kidnapping. I think about the daily life, the small thing that is going to be happening. Screw it, it's like, dude, you already got me chained at the basement floor. I lost to you, right? But I should be able to dominate the edge, right? And like, I don't like that. I don't like that. That part, I worry about that kind of stuff, right? Locked in syndrome, somebody says. The idea that you could be lying there, listening to doctors tell your loved ones that you're brain dead, fully conscious, and struggling to tell them that you're still in there. Okay, now I had mentioned this one earlier. I didn't know about locked in syndrome. I didn't know about that a whole lot. Come on, right? Nobody knows everything. But I've said one of my medical fears is that, like, I go in and I need surgery, and they go to put you under anesthesia, right? And it's like they put you under. They think you're under, but you're not, man. And like you hear everything, you see everything, and worse, you feel everything. Oh, terrifying. Now they made that movie. I forget the name of it, but they made that movie. And it's because that guy knew to be afraid of that. I'm afraid of that too. I worry about that. I don't think it's going to happen. But that's one of those things I'm like, God, please don't let that be happening to me. This guy says, mine's just time. There's no stopping it. There's nothing you could do. We're all just hourglass. Stand slowly, move. Nothing left. Move on. And they say about time, right? We touched on this one a little bit earlier. And I do a bad job of remembering this. And it's why I want to mention it again. Because I feel like I need to do a better job of remembering this, and maybe you do too. What they say about time is this. The past gives you depression. The future gives you anxiety. The present will give you peace. Sounds easy. It's incredibly difficult to do. Being present, sometimes anger can take me out of
Welcome, India. This is Ohio, United States.
That's a flaw I have. I've worked on it. I'm better at it now than ever before. I still wouldn't call myself good at it. Better at it, not good. The past gives you depression. The future gives you anxiety. The present shall give you peace. I kind of like that. Right? I like that. This person says, simply my mother passing away. It genuinely feels like life will be dark after that. It is a real end. Mood down. But yeah, that's pretty close. Now, I've said I don't have a light that you have. Children. Because that's what family is. Learn from the past, kind of take that. Into the earth they go. We're the present. Pass on the knowledge to the next generation. That your kids, you probably see your mom or your dad in your children. See yourself in them. And they supply the happy. I've said, when you are childless and a parent dies, the holidays don't matter at all. Like even a little. Yes, my mother's still alive, and that matters. But all right, so my mom and my brother both texted me last night, said, will you please come for Thanksgiving? I'm not gonna, but will you please come for Thanksgiving? I said, I don't have enough time, and it's too late to book the flight now, and I just, you know what I mean? I agreed to take on shifts for them and knock all this up. I can't do it, right? But and one of the things that I don't really love about going there to do that, what do you think? You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna sit around and talk about Dean the entire week I'm there. And how Thanksgiving isn't Thanksgiving without Dean. And how Christmas isn't Thanksgiving. And now that Grace, my brother's daughter, for those of you that don't know, now that Grace is old, it's not old, but now that she's college, like Christmas doesn't mean anything for her. I mean, it's a kid thing. And so now all of us adults are like, another slice of cheesecake, I get. I mean, right? Like there's nothing, I mean, other than us going out to gamble. So like that part is true, that if you don't have children and you are close to your parents when they die, that will feel like an end. I hate to be the one that brings that to your doorstep. That is true. This person says loss of freedom, whether it be personal life or governmental, global scale even. It terrifies me. I talked about that a little earlier this morning. I'm very guilty of that or aware of that. I can't tell you how many times thinking about going to jail stopped me from doing something that looked fun. I said this then and people didn't like it, but I always feel like I'll give you truth when I can. I have a great life. I make good money to do an easy job. I come and go as I please. I've got a great life. Nice house. Got it pretty good. As a matter of fact, I spend most days hoping most things don't change. I got it pretty good. The things I don't want to be doing. It feels like I'm waiting to die. If I'm honest, it feels like, right, I'm in the waiting room, I guess. It's not morbid. It's more just like, it's annoyed. It's not morbid. It's annoyed. I only say that to say this, that I'm aware that, dude, if you're not happy now, like I'm mad with like Xboxes and credit cards and buy what you want, go anywhere you want, do anything, you got it good. All your, arms, legs, toes, fingers, everything. You're good, right? You're good. And you still hate it. So, bro, let me just tell you, don't ever find yourself in jail. Because if you think you don't like this, you are really going to hate that. I don't know if it's a fear so much as it is an awareness in myself that I am not built for that life. I am not built for restriction at all. I am not built for that. I am the epitome of a greedy, entitled American. I wish I wasn't, but I am absolutely the poster boy of it. I should not be, but I am. Again, getting dementia later in life, that is on my list. Many people said that. It's on my list. Absolutely on my list. Twofold there. My family knew a family whose daughter got it before she turned 40. It's rare. It doesn't happen all that often. But my father was giving them counsel, and they were in my house a lot. And I used to, you're not trying to listen, but it's coming up the steps. And it's like I wasn't supposed to be listening to Motley Crue because they're the devil. And so, I had to be listening to what was going on down there. And so, that scared me straight with that. And you combine that with marijuana use, man, I'm just terrified that that's going to be the end of my life. And look around, all my family's older than I am, and they live 3,000 miles away from me. So I'm just going to be the guy walking around Cleveland Avenue who has no idea where he lives anymore.
The Stansberry Show.
I just thought you were a dumb freeloader who ate all my food and played video games all day.
On Rock 106.9.
You can find me on your socials, The Stansberry Show. A lot of parents still talking about, yeah, man, that's the biggest fear in life, losing your kid. Yeah, I would imagine. Terrifying. Lost a kid in a store once. Longest, I was going to say 20 minutes, but it wasn't even that long. But it felt like 2 days. It was just, it's absolutely brutal. So an argument I see a lot online, well, there's more than a few, but landlords v. tenants, And it really seems as if there are people, there's a large portion of people now who believe that landlords are just inherently evil, right? I do not hold that view. And I think sometimes these conversations get dragged to the far end of the earth. And I think some bad landlords get talked about so much that then anybody who's a landlord now kind of feels like they have to duck and be like, oh yeah, I'm an L word. Now, I had been a renter most of my life. I had rented houses quite a bit. A lot. Most of my landlords, you know what? I don't think I ever had a bad one. When I dealt years and years and years ago when I lived in Parma, when I dealt with a rental company, like a corporation, imagine, right? That was a nightmare. Every person I've ever dealt with while renting a home has been great. Now, I want to say, moving here to Canton, that the rental company I dealt with while living in that apartment downtown, great. Anything I needed, bend over backwards, it was fixed the next day. I mean, they were great. They were fine. So I've had both experiences with companies or like, private person. The last house I rented here, a private owner owned the home. They were non-residential, like, they didn't live here, right? And they were non-residential. And so they had a local company kind of rent that house out for them. That company was also great. Any and everything I ever needed, moment's notice, kind of fixed. I actually have a pretty positive view of landlords. I've had good experiences with them. Did I just pick well? Maybe. I gotta be honest with you, the last house I rented, I hated. I rented it in the middle of a rehab. I was too impatient. I just needed to wait. It was awful, but they were great. The landlord was great. The rental company was great. The house just wasn't finished yet, and so that's why I was unhappy there. You know what I mean? But that was about my patience issue, not anything else. That was about wanting to get out of somewhere else, and you look past red flags. I don't mind the landlord thing so much. A lot of people just kind of hate it. This landlord's given all landlords a bad name. She wants to ban deliveries now. You know what? They want to. One landlord is now considering taking action over nonstop deliveries. This, of course, comes from Reddit. Her renters, a couple, in their mid-40s. What this is essentially, this woman bought a duplex, and she's renting the half out. Living in half, renting the other half out. It's really, really smart. I just gave somebody that advice the other day. Now, you are going to be somebody's landlord, and you're living right next door, and you got to think about that. You're probably going to want to be a good landlord if that's what you're going to do. But that's a really smart plan if you can do that. Probably my next move after I look to rent this house out down the road at some point. But what this landlord is saying is the people who live underneath, it's a top and bottom duplex, they're ordering too many packages, and they're in the ways of the doors now. And so she wants to ban at-home delivery for her tenants. No, you're an idiot. This is not solely your tenant's fault. The world is demanding more of this because before long, guys, I know they're showing you it's your option and it's your convenience and click this button and your package just automatically gets shipped on the 15th. They're baiting the hook, making you believe it is your idea before the system is fully implemented. This is what you get. It is coming down the road. You will not be leaving anywhere before long. You will be out of those private residences. You will be in apartment buildings that start way down here at the street and go all the way up to them clouds in the sky. And wouldn't you know it, there's going to be a store in there too, and a barber, and a this, and a that. So why do you need to be going anywhere? Yeah, we don't need to be doing that anymore. You just stay right here. You can't ban at-home package delivery. This is literally, we're on the hustle here. We're being moved. This is a conveyor belt moving us to this being the only thing. You're not stopping this. This is the new world order. Beyond that, you look really bad here. That Amazon truck is on my street every day. I'm going to guess it's on your street every day. You know why? We live on long streets, and we're not the only people who live there. And Bill and Stacy across the street, and Tom and Jane next door, or whoever the hell, they need things. And they don't want to go anywhere, like you don't want to go anywhere. Let's start episode 7, boo. Just have Amazon send it. Let's start it, right? Let's go. Nobody wants to do it. And so, more and more things are coming to the house. You can't tell your tenants that they can't live in 2024. The hell kind of world is that? This is the system now. Everything's coming to the door. Even your food. Just buy these Huel meals. You'll be fine. Yeah, it's powder. Chewing. Chewing's last century, you douche. No chewing needed. Swallow it, right? It's like we're all going to be pushed on that neo-white slop from the Matrix in 20 minutes. It's coming. You cannot ban packages. It's the only system of shopping that's going to be a thing in about 5 years.
The Stansberry Show.
This is a group of people
who don't know what they're doing. They have completely lost their way. On Rock 1069.
Welcome back to the program. Had talked a little bit about a landlord trying to ban their tenants from ordering packages. You can't do that. That's the way everybody orders everything now. How the hell are you going to get that done? That's not a thing. You can't do that. The issue is they're living in a duplex. Owner of the duplex lives upstairs. The tenant's downstairs. Packages keep showing up every day, and the owner's like, I got to walk around these. It's like, oh, come on. And there's such a heated debate online about people and about landlords and whether or not it's ethical that people be landlords. There's a lot of conversations out there. And I have no problem with it. None whatsoever. I really don't. Everybody knew you were allowed to do that. You know what I mean? And plenty of people I went to high school with kept their head down, worked hard, saved money, bought houses, rented them out. And nobody stopped me from doing that. I could have done that. I didn't. So because I didn't do that, I don't think I'm allowed to look back and be like, not fair now, right? Like, I don't know. Now, okay. There is a bigger problem with a Fortune 500 company coming in and buying neighborhoods and doing it than like Bill and Stacy across the street are just a little sharp with money. Invested right. And you know what? So they own a couple of different houses and they rent them. Bill and Stacy don't bother me at all. Those are Americans trying to get by, trying to do the thing, found a little bit of a niche in the system, decided this is what they're going to do. Have no problem, go with God, you do your thing. Now, technically, the corporation's just Bill and Stacy with a bigger bankroll. But the bigger bankroll is what makes it a little dangerous. Bill and Stacy can't really hurt you. That's where it gets different for me. There is a difference in that. So essentially what I'm saying is, if you want to talk to me about a cap of ownership, of what you can, I'm more open to at least having a casual conversation about that. Ending it as something you were allowed to do, I don't like. You know why? Watch this. You hear this phrase a lot out there. They climbed up. Pull the ladder up on the back of after them. No ladder for anybody else, right? You hear that phrase everywhere in every society. You realize now if they stop you from being able to buy homes, buy property, and make money off of them, that's essentially what they're doing is, well, we already made our... See, this is why this conversation makes me crazy. Is because, like, the young people don't understand. You're going to get the older people who already made their money in the stock market and already made their money in land and all this stuff. They're going to go, and let you do it. Because it's you now pulling the ladder up for them. That's how they made their money. You think they want to watch anybody else make their money like that? Don't stop that. It's you literally pulling the ladder up for somebody else. I told you, there's a million ways to look at anything. All you got to do is flip the coin over, and there's a whole nother opinion on the other side of it. It's up to each one of us to kind of figure out which one of those opinions do we think is right. And for us, and where our line is. Bill and Stacy owning a couple of houses don't bother me at all. Don't bother me at all. Now, you want to get into a territory where Bill and Stacy can kind of hurt you with those rentals? It does exist now. It didn't used to. See, like my parents were renters in a pretty decent neighborhood where you didn't see a whole lot of rentals. And people were nervous about it because renters care less about their homes than people who own. I live not that far away from where I once lived, from where I lived previously. I lived on a street full of renters. I now live on a street full of homeowners. Let me just tell you, it is night and day. Bill and Stacy can kind of hurt you like that, and they can kind of hurt you. That problem is even worse when you start talking about Airbnbs. I'd like to think Bill and Stacy don't want to rent their house to a bad renter because they don't want to see anything happen to their house. Now, you never really know who you get in there. Trust me, my family found that out the hard way. And you never really know until somebody's in there. You just don't know. But I'd like to think that, right? You want to start talking about how when these people start doing this and they start turning nice neighborhoods into Airbnb hotspots, like, that's bad. Because again, Bill and Stacy are doing that. But Ted and Nancy live across the street. And Ted and Nancy both did 40 years at their gig. Took out a loan. Put everything they had into a stack of bricks. And it's literally all they got in the world. And they don't want to watch Greek Fest 2024 Friday through Sunday at an Airbnb at the end of their street. And I got to be honest with you, I sympathize. I do, I get it. There's zero chance that's going to happen on my street. I don't live in the neighborhood where you Airbnb homes like that, you know. Maybe over the Hall of Fame weekend you can do it. But, like, nobody's going down my street going, oh, dude, let me spend a weekend here. Like, that's not happening. Right? Like, it just isn't. This isn't a problem I got to worry about. Some of you do, though, don't you? Yeah, you do. Work them jobs. Saved up that money. Moved to that big house in the hills. Got that Tony Soprano castle. Right? Reached the heights the way your father never did. And now all of a sudden you look down the street and there's just idiots. Right? Just dangling from whatever the hell. Just, doing whatever. That is a problem. That's an issue. And people gobbling up homes for that issue is a problem. Because that can happen. I don't want you living in, like, nightmare scenarios because people are doing that. Bought a house because you didn't want to see the bank sell it off for next to nothing. You bought it and then got a good tenant in there to help keep your neighborhood. That's just a good red-blooded American doing their bit right there, man. Like, I don't see an issue with that. Now, again, experiences will change opinions, right? I told you last week, this is who my grandparents were. My mom's parents were very, very smart. They were sharp with money. My grandfather had the third house ever in Aurora Shores. He had the second house ever in Liberty Hill and Solon. He knew where to be. He knew where the next places were. And he started buying houses in Aurora Shores and started selling them. And then he, rented them. And he did the smart thing. Bought a couple and rented them to his family. Which was really smart. Keep it close. Keep it connected. Keep it tight. And two of his sons rented houses from them. He bought those. And rented. And then on and on it went. My mom, not necessarily as focused. You know what I mean? My father also didn't make enough money. He just did, right? So, like, a little less focused, a little less thing, but, like, maybe that's why I don't have an issue with it. Because I saw it. I was like, this is a smart plan. This is smart. This is really smart. I told you, Earl once bought a house because a tragedy happened there. Nobody else in the neighborhood would touch it. I remember he told my family, he said, well, it's not a calendar event. Something bad happened here. Lightning doesn't strike twice. I'm going to get a bargain on this house because people are afraid. Here's the credit card. What do you want? Right? Like, I mean, come on. Like, at some point, that's just like, that's where that argument, landlords don't bother me. Corporations, it's a little trickier there. No, let's not go to war with corporations. I need those too. Right? And so do you. We all need them. You need stuff, and you need it, right? We need the things. Bill and Stacy, don't worry. Don't bother. Who they rent to can be a little bit concerning. The short-term rental, the Airbnbs, more and more neighborhoods, by the way. Homeowners associations, everybody complains. I grew up in an HOA. Let me tell you, my dad complained about that HOA all of the time. All of the time. Until he went to somebody else's house. Until he went there. And then all of a sudden, it's like the HOA is not so bad. And if the HOA stops you from turning your neighborhood into like a short-term rental oasis, I gotta be honest with you, I bet you're gonna sing the praises of them then.
The Stansberry Show.
I propose we head for the bar.
On Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the program. Find me on your socials, The Stansberry Show. Did talk to Scott from waitingfornextyear.com this morning. He now presented by Beavers Marine. Did talk to him a little bit about that Tyson fight. I guess we should call it the Jake Paul fight. Jake Paul got paid more money. Jake Paul won the fight. It's the Jake Paul fight, not the Mike Tyson fight. I was dead wrong on that. Really was. I kind of thought, I was like, this is nice. Everybody knows going in. They'll look sad if Mike loses. I thought what we would have to be spending all week talking about is, dude, Jake won. I don't know how they're trying to tell us Mike won that fight. He didn't. Right? Like, I thought that's what we were headed for. Turns out no. Now, plenty of people were unable to watch it because of freezing and the app crashes and the like. And yeah, the streamers aren't quite ready to handle the live entertainment quite yet. They'll get it figured out. That's a problem that will be non-existent at some point, I would imagine. But they're not. It's a little shocking that they're not there yet, though. Right? Like, it seems like that shouldn't be that hard to figure. You know, whatever. What I don't know about how streaming works, I'm sure could fill this room. So, and maybe that's part of that. We talked about, or at least I talked about. I said, well, where the hell do you go now? Like, where do you go? I'm talking about if you're Jake Paul. You got your white belt. It was Mike Tyson. You bagged the fight, got the fight, won the fight, for crying out loud. You know, somebody said to me, pretty tired of this of mine. Thank you, by the way, Ben. Said, Stipe. You know, he loses to John Jones, going into retirement. Get that out there, people will watch it. Will not deny people will watch it. I'll watch it. Yeah. Now, I remember the UFC and Stipe kind of had a little bit of a beef with one another, right? Because Stipe was like, dude, I'm winning these fights, I'm the champ, and I don't feel like I'm getting promotion. UFC and Dana was kind of like, well, it's not our fault. People don't really see you as a superstar. Like, they like you, they like the story, but there's a disconnect somewhere between, like, the you and the Rocky angle of it. I don't know who's right, who's wrong, but it's like those were the arguments there. So essentially what I'm saying is that the UFC had a hard enough time making Stipe a star. Like, their stars are only stars while they're fighting. We all know that, right? Amanda Nunes was like the thing. Like, find anybody who knows who she is today. Right? It's like, welcome to the while you're hot, you're leading up to the fight. He said there is no legacy. The legacy doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. You know what I mean? So if Stipe wasn't a star while he was fighting in the UFC and holding belts over his shoulder, I'm not sure most people are going to view Jake Paul fighting Stipe as like a, whoa! That was kind of my point. It's like, once you fight Tyson, who is on the that's bigger than Mike? Now, I guess, does it have to be bigger? Maybe not. I'm kind of looking at it from like a putting on an event, angle of it. That's what we saw was an event. 60-some million viewers from what I understand. It's pretty successful. I don't know who gets you that, like, all right, now I want to see this again. Half the people I know who watched the fight Friday night were watching it in the hopes that Mike Tyson was going to knock Jake Paul out. Or at least really beat him up. And that didn't happen. I don't know if you're going to be able to get that same interest from those people after seeing Mike not be able to do it. You got that. But a lot of the air came out of the bag for me. For me. Now, you're all not me. I can't tell you how many people listen every day and completely disagree with everything I say. Thank you. Need you too. Happy to have you. Right? But, like, not everybody agrees with me. Fair enough. But a lot of that air came out of that bag. I don't think Stipe fills that room. It doesn't fill that excitement that Tyson had. Now, I heard this. Connor? All right. Now, you're closer. You're closer to Mike. It doesn't feel bigger. Now, again, I feel like this really drives home my argument, though. Because now it's like Connor definitely the bigger name than Stipe, right? Like, we can't have crazy arguments, right? So we know that. That's clearly a thing. Okay, so Connor now outranks Stipe. Everybody would agree with that. Okay, so now here we are. Connor doesn't necessarily feel like, oh, that's bigger than Tyson. It feels like it's maybe even with Tyson. That feels more sideways than up to me from the Tyson fight. I could be wrong, but it feels more sideways than up to me. And then here we are all day. We've had the examination. Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? The two names that have been thrust forward, and we didn't even thrust Connors forward. This is kind of Jake's thing. He's kind of been, but I think he's leading us to the water, so we'll drink it. That may be what will happen, right? Or steeping. So again, fast forward another 9 months. He fights Connor. Here I am on a Monday going, well, now what? Right? I mean, so, if nothing else, we have pushed this can down. We kicked the can down the field a little. I'm not sure what we ever really get. You know what I mean? On the other side of that. Cleveland Browns fans believe they have the worst situation in the NFL, but do you? You might not. Watch this now. What if I said to you that what the Cleveland Browns did was trade a very healthy, productive Nick Chubb? They traded him to the Steelers. Doubled down on Deshaun Watson. Went and got him a stud wide receiver in the draft. Only to now, this very day, bench Deshaun Watson, have that wide receiver with nobody to throw him the football. Oh, by the way, your running back in division, humming, kicking ass, helping them win games. Because that happened with the Giants and Saquon Barkley. Traded him. Division. Humming. Winning games. Double down on Daniel Jones. You go get him Malik Neighbors. And now this morning, you tell people, we're benching Daniel Jones. We're going back to Tommy DeVito. After moving off their Nick Chubb. A lot of people in the league would tell you Saquon's better. But, let's not start that fight. Is it as bad as that? I gotta be honest with you. I mean, I know the dead cap hit. I know the dead cap hit. They just paid Daniel Jones some money too now. Again, double down on him. Thought Malik Neighbors was going to turn him into, I don't know who they thought. That's nuts. Like, that situation may be worse. Imagine, dude, the Steelers are at the top of the division. It makes me sick. It makes me sick. Imagine Nick Chubb running for touchdowns with those horrible yellow pants on. You puke in your hands. Are you kidding me? Oh, gross. I gotta be honest with you, man. That is a coin flip. Hopefully you and I run into one another somewhere around this great city.
The Stansberry Show. Nerd stuff probably excites you because you're a nerd. On Rock 106.9.
Dick!
The class clown, they aren't normally the same person. For a reason. That's where information I think is gonna get even harder. One too. Presented by Benders and Maslin Sam. It's solid, it's solid. I kinda need one on the go in my socials like that. It's tough. It needs to be a place for satire. There needs to be a place for hyperbole. People used to send letters to NBC complaining when SNL. And remember, back in the day, we would just laugh at dumb people. Well, they're dumb. You don't slow down the class for, the idiot. Get a tutor. Is how we thought about it, right? Get a tutor. You don't slow down the lesson for everybody else because they didn't get it. Catch up is the way we did it. Now it's look, I'm not saying it's bad or worse. It seems like, no, we can't have any of these things because people will believe it. And it's that's strange. It is strange. I remember when Elon bought Twitter, then Twitter turned it into X, and people were like, that's it, I'm leaving. I said, that's an emotional reaction. That is an emotional reaction. I don't believe that's what we will see. Mostly, I believe I had been right. All the major publications were still there complaining about him every day. They were all still there. You know what I mean? All the politics I was looking for were still there. All the sports information I was looking for was still there. Most of my people, the ones who did, came back pretty quick. And I said, I don't think this is going to be much. Now that's a guy bought it. You didn't like the guy who bought it. Now people believe as if he tipped the scale in an election. that for sure will change people's opinion. Much like you will hear this about politicians sometime. Well, they wasn't a problem until they ran. Well, right. Like, that can be hypocrisy sometimes, or it could be this. I got buddies I'm going to hang out with tonight. Make one of them president, and I'm going to get vocal as hell, bro. Like, I'm going to say some stuff, right? Like, it just, what people are doing will change opinions of what it is that they are doing. You know what I mean? Buying buildings, putting them on your name, going on Stern, talking about, liposuction here, whatever. You know what I mean? Once you start putting yourself in a different arena, people are going to have a different opinion about you. That's part of that. It is at least part of that equation. So what I'm saying is that this thing I didn't think was going to happen for Elon before, I got to be honest with you, I did not see him going politics, bro, and really going all in here. This will cause a different reaction because there would never